friends. Tonight we're going to take a look at my favorite of the giant 44s, a true modern classic, the Ruger Redhawk. I frequently review guns that I think are underrated. This is not one of those guns. Folks who own and love Redhawks really love Redhawks, myself included. This is one of my most treasured possessions, a valued companion. I really like this gun. But first, a little bit of background. Ruger built a name for itself with very interesting designs. First, we have the little .22 target pistol that looked like a Luger. I'm a big fan of that one also. Then a single-action revolver and a falling block rifle. Those last two designs you would assume are a few years too late, right? But Bill Ruger really had a knack for tapping into what folks truly want to shoot, even if we don't know it yet. How many of you saw the new Ruger pistol caliber carbine and said, God, I didn't even know that I wanted that, but now that I've seen it, I need one. It happens a lot with Ruger. So the Redhawk was designed by Harry Sefried in the late 70s and was essentially a larger, more robust version of the Security 6, which he also designed. The Redhawk has no side plate like the Security 6, and that's one of the things that lends this revolver its sort of legendary robustness, even when shooting long-term, really heavy 44 Magnum loads. In fact, that's all I've shot out of this gun over the course of its life and have had absolutely no issues with it. As you probably know, the Redhawk uses a coil spring rather than the traditional leaf spring found on most revolvers. And I've heard some folks say that this makes the trigger pull heavier and maybe makes it harder to improve the trigger pull. But I found this trigger to be really great for what this gun is, a hunting and trail gun. So I don't know if I would need to change something like that anyway, and I don't know how much more difficult the coil spring makes it. Maybe it's all relative, but anyway, worth mentioning all the same. So it seems to me that the popularity of the Redhawk seems to kind of wax and wane. Calibers come and go, barrel lengths come and go. Hell, sometimes they take the whole damn thing out of production, but it always comes back. And from talking to folks at gun stores here locally, it would seem that there's been a massive resurgence in Redhawk popularity to the point that they have some trouble keeping them in stock. So let's take a look at the features here. The first thing you notice, oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? In a very sort of 1970s utilitarian kind of way. It's really nice. Quintessential Ruger. We have a lovely brushed stainless steel finish and lovely wood grips. I think these are walnut, maybe rosewood. Either way, they're really nice. We have the adjustable Ruger sights that we see on so many Ruger firearms with the orange front. Very visible. Also, I've noticed these sights are very finely adjustable. I was able to get them exactly like I like them. And yeah, I know that every time I pull the trigger, it's going exactly where I think it's going to go. I really like that. Very nice. The trigger is excellent for hunting and trail use. It's not a target gun, but for hunting and taking it out on the trail, maybe to defend oneself from bears, couldn't have a better trigger for that. Let's talk about the trigger. So the double action is long, but very smooth, as you would expect from a quality revolver. You can kind of stage it there. Yeah, one more time. Really nice. The single action, the tiniest bit of creep, and then it feels like it releases at about 4 pounds. Really nice. And even though there's a tiny bit of creep, it's still extremely smooth. I'm just kind of comparing this to my my Colt, and yeah, the Colt is pretty legendary for having an amazing trigger. So this is still one of the best triggers available on a factory gun that will be used to hunt. Their Smith & Wesson Performance Center stuff is obviously going to feel a bit better, but you're also going to pay a good deal more for that as well. And arguably, that would run counter to this gun's purpose. I consider the heft of this gun to be a pretty big feature. So normally I would not consider heaviness to be a desirable feature in a firearm, but in this case, it really works to soak up the recoil of the 44. It's not bad at all. A lot of the people who've shot this gun have commented on the fact that it just doesn't feel like a 44, even shooting really stout loads. Really handles that well. The long barrel is very accurate. And I consider the caliber itself to be a huge feature. So to me, 44 is kind of the best blend of power and shootability in a large revolver cartridge. With a gun like this, even the really high-powered 44 loads are totally controllable, and you can make some really quick follow-up shots that you might not be able to make as quickly with 454 Casull or 500 Smith & Wesson or 460 or those sorts of things. So I really like that. 44 is also very fun to shoot. So which guns compete with this one? Well, the other, big 44s. The Smith 29, the 629, the Taurus Raging Bull, the Tracker, the Colt Anaconda, I guess. For me, the Redhawk wins over those other designs as a hunting and trail gun because it can handle loads that would break those competing designs. The Smiths definitely have better fitment and better triggers with single action pulls that sometimes feel a little too light to me for a trail gun. The Colt's out of production, and a used one costs $1 bazillion, so that's out. And if you bought the Taurus, that would mean that you would have to own a Taurus, or worse, shoot a Taurus, or look at a Taurus. Yeah, so buy the Redhawk. For the range, and maybe for hunting, the Smith might be fine, but I recently shot a Model 29 that the single action pull on it it felt like it was less than 2 pounds. And under duress, if I was being charged by a bear or something, I would feel a bit better with this heavier, more forgiving trigger. So this for me is what should go into one's trail holster. The Smiths also, they feel very finely tuned and pretty, but it kind of makes them seem a bit more like museum pieces, whereas this is like it's a brushed steel life-saving tool. It looks like what it is, a fine life-saving instrument. So why would you choose this Ruger? It's the classic. The Super Redhawk is more modern, I know, and can be chambered in more powerful calibers, but it's not the classic Redhawk, and it's got that weird bulbous thing on the front of it, and I don't like that. And I know the Super Redhawks are a bit more like the GP100 internally and can kind of be fine-tuned to double and single-action sexual trigger finger bliss a bit more easily than the good old-fashioned Redhawk, but the Redhawk points better, and the trigger is better out of the box from the Redhawk. So I don't much like the prospect of buying a Super Redhawk, which is ugly anyway, and then having to spend a bunch of money to make the trigger feel like this one anyway. No, thank you. And also, this one just has that strange sort of indescribable greatness that sort of leads to nebulous phrases like indescribable greatness. It's just the right one. It's just right. Just look at it. So how does it shoot? Well, it's really smooth. It's so smooth. Every time I take it to the range, 44 Magnum is so expensive. I always take a finite amount and say, okay, this is all I'm going to shoot today. And next thing I know, I'm at the counter buying more ammo because I don't want to stop. Every time I take it to the range, too, someone inevitably says, if you shoot that all day, it's going to hurt your wrist. And because of the weight and the comfortable grip angle, you can shoot this thing all day. It's just no big deal. It feels great. Even with really, really hefty Magnum loads, it's fine. If this gun weighed half as much, maybe I would experience some sort of discomfort, but at 3 1/3 pounds, fast follow-up shots, no big deal. It's perfect. Let's talk about which loads I've been shooting in it also. So with 44 being so expensive, I've tried to find a load that was a really good blend of cost and power. And I've actually not shot any 44 special loads out of this. I've really enjoyed the full power stuff. And I found stuff like the Mag Tech to be pretty weak. It doesn't really give you an impression of what shooting 44 really feels like. So I've been stepping it up to see what I could find. And the best blend to me of power and affordability is the PPU, both the soft points and the jacketed hollow points. They're really, really stout. Some of the most stout factory loads I've been able to find locally. Actually, no, you know what? They were the most stout factory loads I've found locally. Really great stuff. Super fun to shoot and still just a breeze out of this gun. I really like those. I think I forget how powerful, but they're substantial. So yeah, if you have a 44, go out and give those a try. If you have any recommendations for loads I should give a whirl, please leave that in the comments. I'm going to order some buffalo bore stuff soon. And it's just really nice knowing that I can shoot any load available out of this gun, which you just can't do with the Smiths. I like knowing that. Yeah, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I really, really like that. It's just comforting somehow. And with it as heavy as it is, even the biggest stuff probably isn't going to be that bad. So what would I change about this gun? As is really nothing. I love this thing. It was great from the moment I got it. I loved it. But I did have a problem. It was a problem that Ruger immediately fixed, but I did have a problem. So I took it to the range. It shot great, but I noticed I was shooting just a hair left. It was really subtle, but I thought, oh, well, I'll adjust the sights and then I'll get used to the gun and it'll go away. I noticed it was still happening, and I was cleaning the gun later, and I realized that the barrel was not screwed in correctly. So I let Ruger know, and they immediately sent me a shipping label. They repaired the gun really quickly. I think they got it at the beginning of a week, and it had been shipped back out to me at the end of the week. And it was back in my hands, I think, the Monday after. After that, perfect. No problems. And again, even with the barrel being slightly offset, the amount that it was changing my shooting was pretty minimal. It was very subtle. But they also removed some scratches that I had put in the gun by accident, and they changed the grips because I had scratched those as well. I didn't even ask them to do any of that, and they did it completely for free. So the gun, when I got it back, it gleamed like the sun and looked better than it did when I bought it new. So it was perfect. I really, really, really was happy with their customer service, and I always am. So does it suck that I had to send back a new gun to Ruger? Yeah, it sucks. But they have the best customer service in the industry, and everybody makes mistakes. They made it right with great efficiency, and as you know, if you've watched a few of my videos, I'm a huge Ruger fan. So look, even though that happened to me, don't hesitate to buy one of these. That was probably 1 in a million. I've had a lot of Rugers, and if there's ever been a problem, they have rushed to fix them immediately. And really, Rugers are built like tanks. It's 1 in a million. You're not going to have any issues. But alrighty. So my final thoughts. There are other revolvers out there with better triggers, better sights, firing more potent calibers. Some of those guns have Picatinny rails and special rubber grips to cushion your little hands, and crazy alloy frames made from melted down moon rocks. But for my purposes, nothing else would do. The Redhawk was the only choice. I wanted a gun that I could use to hold off an army of angry bears while firing, cannonballs out of it. This is the one. I needed a gun that would keep me safe, in the woods throughout the deep south, along mountain passes and overgrown trails and, wherever else, whatever. This gun is the gun for that. The trigger is great while maintaining safety. It's the perfect trigger for a trail gun. It fires the perfect round for those sorts of places. It's plenty powerful, but leaving you capable of speed if necessary. The gun has sights that are robust and functional. The gun is comfortable, and it can handle just about any rounds that you feed it. You know what I'm going to tell you? Go buy a Redhawk. Go buy a Redhawk, and I guess some European fizzy water, too. I sure do love my European fizzy water. As always, thank you for watching. There are a lot more reviews coming. I really, really appreciate your support. Have a good night, and I will talk to you soon.